Imagine being transported to a world where fallen angels shape human destinies, where women are transformed into beings of eternal beauty and torment, and where towering cities like Babylon rise only to crumble under the weight of their own arrogance. Today we will delve into the revelations of Enoch, guided by the enigmatic Uriel, on a journey that unveils the darkest mysteries of creation and the inevitable judgment we all must face. If you enjoy deep and revealing stories like this, leave your like right now and subscribe to the channel. Activate notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. Together, let's explore the hidden layers of these mysteries. The encounter with Uriel, the keeper of divine knowledge. Uriel was no ordinary guide. He was a presence that seemed to carry within himself the entire weight of creation. His figure, both majestic and imposing, transcended any human conception of light or shadow. Enoch, accustomed to visions and revelations, realized that Uriel not only spoke for God, but also embodied a fragment of his justice and wisdom. Every step alongside Uriel was a deeper dive into a reality where the fabric of creation seemed intertwined with decisions, consequences, and unfathomable mystery. Uriel was not content to show things as they were. He led Enoch to scenarios that defied human understanding, where every shadow seemed to carry stories of angels and men who had succumbed to the temptations of power and knowledge. There was a terrifying beauty in what Uriel revealed. A creation in disarray, with invisible forces striving to restore balance while others sought to destroy it. The way Uriel presented the fallen angels to Enoch was equally unique. He did not depict them as monsters or mere rebels, but as beings who had once been immersed in celestial glory and had deliberately chosen to stray from it. Their acts of transgression, according to Uriel, were not mere isolated acts of disobedience, but part of a great cycle that had begun before humanity even existed. As he walked through the scenarios revealed by Uriel, Enoch felt his humanity almost disintegrate before the vastness of what was being shown. He understood that his role was not just as a spectator, but as someone who would carry this truth back to his people. The weight of Enoch's responsibility grew heavier with each revelation, but Uriel, with a gaze that seemed to pierce through time and space, gave him a silent strength to bear such a mission. Uriel also seemed to teach through contrasts. He showed the glory of God and the horrors of corruption. He made Enoch see that creation was not just a divine work, but a battleground where visible and invisible forces fought over humanity's destiny. The depth of Uriel's revelations was a constant reminder that every choice, whether by angels or humans, resonated far beyond what could be imagined. Uriel's presence not only guided Enoch, but transformed his perception of the world. The prophet understood that the knowledge he received was not just to be comprehended, but to be communicated. To warn humanity of the dangers of its curiosity and arrogance. Enoch knew that the visions were only the beginning of his mission, and that Uriel, in his wisdom, was preparing him to bear a message that would alter the course of history. The forbidden seduction, knowledge that destroys. The secrets brought by the fallen angels were not merely technical advances or mundane knowledge, but keys that unlocked doors to realities beyond human control. Uriel revealed to Enoch the details of the forbidden gifts these angels had offered to humanity. The art of manipulating metals to forge weapons of destruction. The mysteries of the stars and astrology that promise to unveil the future. The secrets of herbs for healing and poisoning. And even enchantments that defied the boundaries between life and death. Each revelation, far from being a gift, was a curse carrying the price of ruin. Humanity, in its insatiable and curious nature, embraced these secrets enthusiastically. Men not only adopted what they had learned, but sought to surpass the very limits of what was taught. The desire to control nature and challenge divine decrees became an obsession, leading to the creation of empires that defied the laws of both earth and heaven. Through Uriel's revelations, Enoch saw how human cities became centers of idolatry, where practices learned from the fallen angels transformed worship of the Creator into cults to lesser entities. The Nephilim, the offspring of the forbidden unions between angels and human women, were the most visible and terrifying consequence of this corruption. Uriel showed Enoch the magnitude of these creatures. Giants in size, strength, and destruction. They walked the earth as living manifestations of celestial rebellion, spreading chaos and fear. More than mere physical beings, the Nephilim represented a spiritual fracture infiltrating every aspect of creation. They became symbols of a broken order, the forbidden mingling of the divine and mortal. Uriel explained to Enoch that the fallen angels knew exactly what they were doing by sharing these secrets. It was not an act of generosity, but of manipulation. They intended for humanity to drift further away from God, building towers of pride and self-sufficiency. Uriel made it clear that the introduction of these forbidden teachings was no accident, but part of a deliberate plan to subvert divine order and establish a new hierarchy where they, the fallen angels, would be worshipped as gods. The corruption brought by this hidden knowledge was not confined to Enoch's generation. Uriel showed him that its consequences would echo across ages, affecting not only bodies but also souls. What began as manipulation of elements and scientific curiosity soon transformed into a cycle of spiritual dependence. Men not only learned to wield weapons or consult the stars, but began to rely blindly on their creations, forgetting the Creator who had shaped them. Behind every forbidden teaching lay a lesson Enoch could not ignore. Knowledge without divine guidance is a burden humanity cannot bear alone. It becomes a weapon against itself, destroying not only the world around it, but its own essence. Uriel, with serene wisdom, conveyed to Enoch the reality that every gift brought by the fallen angels carried a spiritual cost. For every advancement humanity celebrated, a piece of its soul was left behind. This was the greatest tragedy Enoch witnessed. Humanity, in its insatiable pursuit of power and wisdom, was drifting further from the divine purpose for which it was created. He understood that forbidden knowledge was not a blessing, but a test, one that few could resist, using for selfish and destructive purposes. The wives of angels and the curse of the sirens. The wives of the fallen angels held a prominent place in Enoch's visions, not merely as victims of celestial seduction, but as active participants in a tragic destiny. Uriel showed the prophet how these women were drawn not only by the beauty of the angels, but by the promise of power that transcended mortality. Their union with the fallen angels was not merely physical, but spiritual. A bond that defied the natural and spiritual laws governing the universe. These forbidden unions brought forth consequences that would shape the very history of humanity. These women, chosen for their beauty and desire, were introduced to secrets far beyond their comprehension. They learned enchantments and rituals, absorbed the mysteries of the stars, and in many cases became priestesses of cults dedicated to the very angels who had seduced them. But what seemed like a privilege quickly revealed itself to be a trap. Uriel explained that the connection to the fallen angels was a union with their corruption. By sharing the fate of these angels, these women became agents of the same decadence that had begun with the celestial rebellion. It was at this point that Uriel revealed the punishment imposed upon these women, their transformation into sirens. These creatures, as mesmerizing as they were tragic, embodied the forbidden desire that had once bound them to the angels. The beauty of these women, once their glory, became a deadly snare. Transformed into dwellers of the ocean's depths, the sirens were condemned to wander eternally, their irresistible voices luring sailors and unwary souls to destruction. Enoch saw in his visions what words could scarcely describe: the internal suffering of these creatures. Though outwardly beautiful, they bore an anguish that transcended the physical, a spiritual weight no word could ease. Uriel showed Enoch that this transformation was not only a punishment, but an eternal reminder of their transgression. The sea, vast and unfathomable, became a symbol of their isolation, a reflection of their disconnection from the Creator and the world they once knew. Among the sirens, Uriel highlighted figures who had played central roles in the narratives of seduction and power, such as Nama. This woman, whose actions surpassed ordinary transgression, became a living legend, the archetype of humanity daring to challenge the boundaries imposed by the divine. Nama, according to Uriel, was more than a character in a tale of downfall. He was a symbol of the struggle between desire and obedience, between power and sacrifice. Uriel, always profound in his revelations, ensured Enoch understood that the curse of the sirens was not merely punitive. It carried a greater purpose, to serve as a warning to humanity about the perils of straying from the divine path. Their voices, sweet and tempting, echoed across the seas, not only to destroy but as a reminder of the consequences of letting the desire for the forbidden surpass reverence for the Creator. Enoch realized that the sirens, though cursed, retained a connection to the divine that still pulsed within them. Their existence, shrouded in suffering, also offered an opportunity for reflection to the men who encountered them. Uriel revealed that the fate of these women was, in a way, a reflection of the human condition. Creatures of beauty and potential, yet marked by choices that led them away from the original purpose of creation. This understanding gave Enoch a new dimension of his role as a prophet. He was not merely a witness to punishment, but a bearer of a message of warning and hope. The destiny of the angels' wives was a reminder that choices have consequences, but also that the path back to divine obedience, though arduous, remained possible for those willing to listen and comprehend the revelations. Nama, a symbol of power and tragedy. Nama was far more than a figure of seduction. She was a human enigma, a convergence point of the profane and the sacred. Uriel, with the relentless clarity of his revelations, showed Enoch that Nama personified the intersection of forces vying for the soul of creation. She was not merely a woman who succumbed to the seduction of fallen angels. Her story mirrored the temptations and dilemmas humanity would face throughout time. Before her fall, Namama was renowned for her beauty, but her true strength lay in her sharp intellect and restless spirit. She was a seeker of knowledge, someone who yearned to understand the mysteries of the universe. This insatiable thirst made her a target for the fallen angels, who saw in her the potential to become a powerful ally in their rebellion. Nama's choice was not made blindly. She knew she was crossing a perilous line, but the allure of the power and knowledge promised to her was irresistible. Uriel revealed that Nama's influence extended far beyond her own generation. She became a central figure in cults and traditions that blended the divine and the demonic, revered by some as a goddess and feared by others as an agent of perdition. Nama imparted to women the secrets entrusted to her by the angels, knowledge that profoundly altered their societal roles at the time. Yet, her pursuit of power and wisdom came at a steep price, both for herself and those around her. In the visions granted by Uriel, Enoch saw how Nama's story echoed across ages. She was not merely a woman, but an idea, a representation of humanity's impulse to transcend its limits, even at the cost of its very essence. Her figure appeared in myths and stories as the embodiment of forbidden allure. Yet Uriel made it clear that Nama's legacy was not solely one of destruction. In her tragedy lay a reflection of humanity's potential for transformation, even amidst chaos. Nama, through her involvement with the fallen angels, became a catalyst for the disorder that spread across the world. The Nephilim, born of her transgressions, embodied her quest for something greater, and the price she paid for it. These powerful and fearsome beings carried the weight of Nama's choices and those of the angels who had seduced her. Uriel showed Enoch how Nama's impact was like ripples on a lake, starting at one point but spreading infinitely outward. Uriel emphasized Nama's spiritual transformation. He explained that although she had strayed from the divine path, her story was not merely one of condemnation. In some traditions, there was the belief that figures like Nama could eventually find redemption, but only through profound repentance and complete transformation. Uriel showed Enoch that Nama's journey was a lesson for all who sought what was forbidden. Knowledge and power are not malleable without consequences, and the price of obtaining them could be one's very soul. Nama's story also connected her to the sirens, those transformed women who roamed the seas. Uriel explained that Nama's spirit, in many narratives, was tied to these creatures as an archetype that united desire and suffering. The sirens, with their deadly beauty, reflected Nama's own history, reminding the world that seduction was not merely physical but spiritual, and that choices made in moments of temptation reverberate for eternity. As Enoch grasped Nama's role not merely as a woman, but as a symbol, he realized that his prophetic mission was broader than he had imagined. He was not only to warn humanity of the dangers of transgression, but also to guide men and women toward a deeper understanding of their own choices. Nama, in all her complexity, served as a reminder that even in the midst of a fall, there were lessons to be learned, and redemption, though rare, was not entirely beyond reach for those who sought to return to the Creator. The fall of Babylon, a reflection of a corrupted world. Babylon was more than just a city. In Uriel's visions, it appeared as a living symbol of human arrogance, rebellion against divine order, and the idolatry that had consumed men's hearts. Its streets were adorned with seemingly endless riches. Its palaces rose like golden mountains, and its tower reached the heavens as a direct challenge to the Creator. Yet beneath this grandeur, Uriel revealed to Enoch the rotten core of the city, a pulsating center of spiritual corruption where men worshipped false gods and offered sacrifices that cried out to heaven for justice. Uriel showed Enoch the rise of Babylon, built upon the forbidden teachings of the fallen angels. Every stone of the city seemed to carry the secrets brought by those who had rebelled against God. The hidden mysteries that the fallen angels shared with humanity had been transformed into tools of domination and idolatry. Enoch witnessed how Babylon's leaders, driven by an insatiable thirst for power, used this knowledge to create a civilization that saw itself as invincible, as though it were a new Eden crafted by human hand. The Tower of Babel, a monumental structure dominating the city, was the pinnacle of human ambition. Uriel revealed to Enoch that this tower was not merely an architectural feat, but a symbol of humanity's desire to break the boundaries between the human and the divine. Babylon's inhabitants, taught by the fallen angels, sought not only to reach the heavens physically, but also spiritually, aspiring to take the place of the angels and perhaps of God Himself. This ambition embodied the rebellion that had begun in the heavens and now took deep root on earth. But Uriel also showed Enoch the inevitable fate of Babylon. The city's glory would be reduced to rubble, and its tower, the symbol of human pride, would be brought down by the divine hand. Babylon's destruction would not be merely an act of judgment, but a warning to all future nations. No rebellion against God would go unpunished. The sky would darken, and winds of destruction would sweep through the city like a storm. The inhabitants, who were not consumed by fire, would flee, leaving behind ruins that would serve as an eternal reminder of divine justice. Enoch saw visions of a grim future for Babylon after its fall. Uriel revealed the ruins of the city, inhabited not by men, but by demons and creatures of darkness. The city that once glimmered with gold and human glory became a wasteland, inhabited by beings that reflected the spiritual corruption that had reigned in life. Babylon, with all its ambition and splendor, became an open wound on the earth, a place of desolation and torment. Uriel explained that the fall of Babylon was not only a matter of justice, but a reflection of the human condition. Just as the fallen angels had been punished for their disobedience, so too would mankind face the consequences of its choices. Babylon, in all its complexity, was a microcosm of humanity, a civilization that sought greatness without considering the spiritual cost of its ambition. Enoch understood that Babylon's destruction was a lesson not just for the people of his time, but for all future generations. The city, in its rise and fall, represented the unending cycle of pride and punishment that had marked the history of creation. Uriel, in his wisdom, made it clear that the message of Babylon was not only about judgment, but also about the necessity of humility before the Creator. With a heavy heart, Enoch knew he had to carry this message forward. He had seen the glory and the destruction of Babylon, and understood that the city's fate was a reflection of humanity's destiny as a whole. In every ruin, there was an echo of Uriel's words, reminding all that human pride would never prevail over divine will. Babylon, with its entire history, became an eternal symbol of the price humanity pays for ignoring the boundaries set by the Creator. The final judgment, the end and the beginning. The final judgment, as revealed to Enoch by Uriel, was more than a moment of condemnation. It was a cosmic event in which all creation would be placed under divine scrutiny. Uriel described a tribunal that transcended any earthly conception of justice. The heavens themselves seemed to open, unveiling a throne of infinite glory, where the Creator would sit to judge every being, from the most exalted angels to the humblest mortals. Enoch saw in his visions that this would not be an ordinary judgment. It would be the moment when all truths were exposed and every choice was confronted. Uriel explained that the final judgment was inevitable because it was etched into the very fabric of creation. From the moment the fallen angels rebelled, the universe embarked on a trajectory culminating in this day. Every act of transgression, every choice of rebellion, and every secret buried deep in the human heart would be brought to light. The scales of divine justice would weigh not only actions but intentions, revealing that even the most hidden thoughts played a role in each soul's destiny. Enoch saw how the fallen angels would be brought before the Creator. Once radiant as bearers of light, they now appeared in their true forms, beings corrupted, marked by their choices of pride and rebellion. Uriel showed that they could no longer conceal their intentions or distort their actions. Every word they had whispered to humanity, every forbidden secret they had shared, would be counted against them. The Nephilim, hybrid beings born of the union between angels and human women, would also face judgment. Uriel revealed that the Nephilim represented not only the mingling of the divine and the mortal, but a violation of the laws that upheld the order of creation. These beings, whose strength and fury had wrought such chaos, would be called to face divine justice. But their destruction would not be merely physical. It would be a spiritual act that erased their existence from the cosmos, as though they had never been on. Enoch also saw how humanity would be judged. Uriel showed that mortals would not be spared simply because of their humanity. Men who had received the secrets of the fallen angels and used them to build their own glories would be held accountable for their choices. Uriel made it clear that while the fallen angels introduced corruption, humanity had the power of choice. It was this choice that would be judged. But Uriel revealed a deeper layer to the judgment. It would not only be an act of condemnation, but a moment of redemption for those who had sought divine mercy. Uriel explained that even amid destruction there would be an open door to salvation. The scales of divine justice were not only weighed down with the weight of sins, but balanced by the grace offered by the Creator. Those who truly repented and sought a return to the divine path would find forgiveness, no matter how great their transgression. In Uriel's visions, Enoch saw a scene of cosmic transformation. The final judgment would not only mark the end of an era, but the beginning of something entirely new. The universe, corrupted by the rebellion of angels and the fall of humanity, would be purified. The old things would pass away, and a new creation would emerge, where divine order would be perfectly restored. Uriel explained that the judgment was both an act of justice and an act of love. The Creator, in His infinite wisdom, sought not merely to punish the guilty, but to bring reconciliation and renewal. The entire universe would be reorganized, not to obliterate creation, but to restore it to its original purpose. Enoch understood that this was the greatest mystery of all. The final judgment was not merely the end of a story, but the beginning of a new journey for all creation. At the end of his visions, Enoch felt the weight of what he had witnessed. He knew the judgment was imminent, but also understood that the Creator offered hope amidst condemnation. His role as a prophet was to carry this message of justice and redemption to humanity, warning of the consequences of their choices, while pointing to the grace awaiting those who turn their hearts back to the Creator. Enoch's revelations remind us that every choice we make echoes into eternity, just as the angels' transgression and humanity's corruption left an eternal mark on creation. The story does not end here. There is still much to uncover about divine mysteries, spiritual battles, and the secrets shaping the universe. If these truths have impacted you, share this video with someone who also needs to hear these stories. And of course, keep following the channel to dive even deeper into this universe full of meaning. Together, we can unravel the greatest spiritual mysteries. Until the next video, may your quest for knowledge always be illuminated.